All right, so today's topic is going to be one of the most important things that you guys ever learn about in science this year and always. This topic is vital to civilization as we know it, to our Earth staying healthy, and to us being able to use our Earth for more years than what it's looking like. So that's my little tidbit disclosure. And yeah, all right, so let's start off with fossils. Fossils are the remains of organisms in rocks or soil, and they help scientists learn about the environment of the past, the present, and they are they're vital to a lot of our science that we know right now, to the way that we live. So a fossil could be anything from a snail to a fish to an actual human being to any kind of animal, and they helped us find all kinds of different things, like that Antarctica used to be warmer than it is today, that North Dakota used to be swamp, and that it helped Alfred Wegener find out about plate tectonics. So we wouldn't know how to help with earthquakes and different things like that if we didn't know about the plate tectonics through all of this fossil activity. Now, fossils can eventually become a fossil fuel. So let's kind of talk about that a little bit. A fossil fuel would be any type of fossil that we can use, that we can make energy from. So coal, let's start with coal. Coal is started from a swamp. So thousands or millions of years ago, North Dakota was under a swamp. And eventually, all of the swamp organisms, the plants, the animals, the bacteria, all of that stuff died. And when they died, they were buried by sediment and rock. And there was a lot of pressure as they get buried. And they're gradually getting buried more and more. There is some water that might stay up there. Could be ocean water, could just be water. And eventually, that water will dry up as well. And so now we have all of these layers of rock and sediment and all kinds of stuff. And that layer of all that plant life is actually peat. And eventually, with a lot of pressure and a lot of heat, that will become coal. And just like how I explained, with time, that coal will turn into the coal that we use. So peat is basically that vegetation. Through time and heat and pressure, it will become one of these two, which I have a hard time pronouncing. But these are what we use to heat our houses, to um, for our energy. It's very, very important to our ecosystem or to our economy. So coal is vital to our survival as of now. However, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but we really don't have very much coal left on our Earth to help us survive. So we need to find other sources. Another source of energy is oil, and oil is extremely important to North Dakota's economy. You guys should all have heard of oil. You all have experienced oil in some way, moms or dads, having jobs, grandmas, grandpas, uncles, anybody. Um, Oil is huge in North Dakota's economy, and it helps not just the oil workers, but it helps all the businesses too. We have more restaurants, we have more apartment buildings, different things like that. So oil is a very huge moneymaker in North Dakota. And oil is created similar to how coal is made, except instead of a swamp, it's an ocean. So that ocean is has all of the different organisms. Eventually they die and they get buried. And when they get buried through the heat and pressure, it turns into oil. So basically, coal and oil are dead plants and animals from water life. So kind of interesting. Now, as time goes on, you guys kind of saw those layers in those previous slides, but those layers keep building up on each other. And this is kind of interesting. You guys should see these all over the place. Shade Hill has some layers, the Badlands have layers, and they're so cool because you see these layers and you don't realize that that layer of Earth is like thousands and thousands, maybe even millions of years old. And we're exposed to it. So a long, long time ago, there could have been a crazy animal running around on that layer, and we can see that layer. So it's very, very cool. Well, when we think of the layers, we think of the law of superposition, which is basically how old is that rock? And if you think of it relative age, it's pretty obvious that these ones down here are old, where the ones on the top are young. So you can say that these ones are the oldest, these ones are the youngest. And here's kind of a good example. So these rocks are young, these ones are kind of medium, these ones are starting to get older, and these guys are old. So they might have been back when the dinosaurs were here. So very interesting. If you want to talk absolute age, you could say like this type of animal is 400 million years old, where this one is 5,000. So different things like that. Now, how do we use this energy? Well, you guys should know that you use energy for electricity, of course. You use it for transportation, so driving with vehicles, with trucks, with trains, with airplanes, all kinds of stuff like that. And then, of course, we have heating and cooling of our homes. Now, here's the problem with the energy that we use today. It is non-renewable. So, kind of like I was just talking about, what happens when all of that coal is gone? We use it all, but I don't see any swampland turning into coal anytime soon. It takes millions of years for that to happen. And same with the natural gas. So we need to find different ways to find energy without using coal and oil. And that's not to ruin the industry, but it's more because we need to find a different way to survive if all of our coal and oil is going to be gone. So a lot of engineers have created different ways and thought of different ways, and some of these ways you guys have seen. So of course we have wind energy. Wind is renewable because it never dies. I mean, we always have wind. And if we don't, there's going to be wind in a week from today. So that's kind of how it works. Same with hydro. I mean, there's water, there's rain. The world is made of water, so water is very important. We always have plants. We always have the sun. So those are renewable sources. Those are things that we can take energy from, that we can keep taking. We can keep planting. We can keep using water and different things like that. Where once we use all that coal, it's gone. Once we use all that oil, it's gone. So that's really, really important. Now, there are alternative sources of energy that might even be healthier to our ecosystem. Um, this is really important because if we don't stop using these pollutants, and I'm not saying that coal and oil is bad. It's very, very, very important to our economy right now. But eventually, our scientists are going to have to figure out different ways because the coal and oil emit that carbon monoxide, and it is destroying our ozone layer, which is making it really, really hot. The sun can go through our earth a lot easier. And eventually that's going to have some really big problems. And so it kind of stinks for you guys because you guys are stuck with all the problems. But if you guys someday have a job in energy, in conserving energy and different ways to use energy in a clean way without emitting gases and oils and stuff, you guys could probably save the world someday. So it's a very, very, very important job to have. And somebody's got to do it. Well, people are already creating different ways. The first way that you guys should be familiar with is wind energy. We have wind farms here. Now, wind energy is basically where the turbine will move and that will create power for the generator. The only problem with this is, what if there's not enough wind? Or what if there's too much wind? What about snow and ice? Does that cause any problems? In those really, really, really cold winter days, we have to have coal to survive, where the wind energy really isn't going to help us with that. Same with any other kind of energy. So there are some problems with the wind energy. The other energy that is commonly thought of and is very clean is water energy or hydro energy. This is a hydroelectric water wheel used in rivers and dams and stuff like that. Water is extremely powerful, so I think this is an amazing idea, and I think that they should keep going with this. Well, water with these water wheels, basically they have a wheel and axle, and when that wheel and axle is moved, it causes energy, and that energy can be used into the electricity. Another new method that scientists are creating is turbines, but they're ocean turbines. So it's kind of like a wind turbine, but they're underwater. And these use the energy from the waves in the ocean and generate energy through that. So the same way they have a generator and it's just like the wind energy. And I think this is very, very innovative, and I can see a lot of problems with this, especially with killing ocean life that is vital. But if they can figure out a way to do it, I think that they should. Next is solar energy. You guys have seen solar energy probably in if you buy like sidewalk lights, if you buy like um, different outdoor decorations that light up. A lot of lights have solar energy panels on them. Well, there are places, especially in the warmer places, that have whole entire fields full of these, and they don't pollute at all. And they basically generate energy through sunlight. Now, the problem with solar energy is, first of all, they take a lot of room. So, if we have all of this open space, we want to be growing crops with this space. We want farmland. We want to use this for cattle, for sheep, for any of our animals, and any agricultural purposes. So, this wastes a lot of land. So, if they could figure out a way to do it on like a mountaintop or something, that would be kind of cool. The other problem is, what about places like North Dakota where there is 9 months of winter where we don't have very much sunlight? What are we going to do with that? So there still are problems, and I don't know, you guys could maybe think of the solution. Another type of energy is nuclear energy, where they basically take atoms and make energy through that. The problem with this is it is non renewable and it causes radioactive waste. So I do not think very highly of nuclear energy. Of course, that's just my opinion. You guys can have your own opinion. Geothermal energy is very interesting. So they take volcanic land where there are hot springs. So, like, the volcano will heat the water underground through that magma. And they take that hot water and pump it out. And they take the steam from that hot water and it spins a turbine through and gives energy to a generator through a power plant. And then it takes that water, it doesn't make it dirty or anything, or it doesn't pollute it. It basically just takes that water and puts it back in the ground. So it's like a nice cycle where it doesn't waste any water, it doesn't do anything harmful to the earth. However, we don't have volcanoes all over the place, so that's kind of a problem. Now, this one is probably one of my favorite types of energies, and I don't know much about it. And I think that scientists are looking a little bit more into this. But basically, biomass is any type of plant, animal, item, object that can be burned for energy. So you can burn any type of crops that are wasted or anything like that. You can burn mulch. You can burn garbage, which is awesome. This would be a very good solution if they could figure out a clean way to do this. This would be a solution to all of those landfills that are filled with garbage, and those oceans and those beaches that are just filled with garbage and trash. I think it'd be great if they could use that to make energy. Now, the problem with that is usually when you burn garbage or burn wood and stuff like that, it does emit CO2 and carbon dioxide and stuff like that. So I don't know if there's a way that they can do it clean, but I'm sure someday they will be able to figure this out. Now, you guys are just kids right now, so there's not really much you can do, but there are a lot of ways that you can do your part, just a little bit. So basically, here's a 10-step action plan. Turn off the lights, especially in the summertime when you have that natural sunlight. Use energy-saving light bulbs instead of the wasteful ones. Make sure you shut off your computers and your devices. Use smart power strips that turn off. Again, turn off all the devices. Use that natural light. Unplug your charger when you're not using it. Use Energy Star appliances, which save energy, conserve energy. So basically, like your fridge, your microwave, stuff like that. Talk about your thermostats, or turn your thermostats down or up or anything like that. Like in the winter when we have our heat cranked, that wastes a lot of energy. And also with home improvements, so you could insulate your house a little bit more so it doesn't waste so much energy. You can close the blinds to keep the cool in when it's hot in the summer. Or you can open the blinds to let the sun in to kind of heat your house up a little bit. There's all kinds of different ways that you can do your part. And if you do your part and you help and you pay attention to this important topic, you could keep our earth clean and healthy so it doesn't eventually get too hot and we lose all of our plants and animals and life as we know it, pretty much. So definitely do your part. It's very, very important. And thanks for listening to my spiel.